My best friend hid her entire boyfriend from me for a year. Then she scheduled her wedding the day before mine. She called me a month before my wedding and said she was getting married. I sat there on the phone smiling and saying congratulations and crying tears of joy because I didn't even know she was seeing anyone. Then she dropped the second bomb. She was marrying a guy from our friend group. The one she'd sworn for 10 years was just like a brother to her, and her wedding had to be the day before mine because her father-in-law couldn't get any other weekend off. She listed 4 other dates she'd ruled out. One was too close to her period. One would make her bloated. One was Valentine's weekend, and that was cringy. One was too close to Ramadan. I kept saying congratulations while my whole body went cold because every single thing she just told me was a lie. I'd known her since freshman year of college. We were the kind of close where I had a key to her apartment, and she had one to mine. The guy she was marrying was someone we used to fight about back in school because she'd ditch our brunch plans to text him for 3 hours straight, and whenever I brought it up, she'd roll her eyes and tell me I was being jealous over nothing because she only saw him as a brother. We all matured after graduation. I let it go. I even invited him to my wedding as my friend. For 10 months before her phone call, she'd been asking me hyper-specific questions about my wedding planning, what vendor I used, how I picked my colors, why I went with that florist. She told me she felt left out and asked to come dress shopping with me. I took her. I showed her contracts and the seating chart and the timeline. She kept saying, "Wow, your planning seems so easy." I'd thought of stuff she swore she'd never even known was a thing. When I hung up that phone call, I sat on my kitchen floor and pieced it together. She hadn't been asking because she was excited for me. She'd been asking because she was planning her own wedding the entire time and using me as a free wedding planner. Then she scheduled hers the day before mine on purpose. So in her version of events, hers came first. I called her back the next day and told her I couldn't make it. The venue was 2.5 hours away. I had family flying in from abroad. I physically could not be there. She started sobbing and said she never thought I'd do this to her. She said her future in-laws would think I was being dramatic because she'd already told them she specifically picked that date so I could attend, even though she'd never asked me if the date worked. She said I was going to embarrass her. I asked her why she'd hidden the relationship from me for an entire year. She said she thought I'd cut her off because of my history with the guy. I reminded her that we were not in college anymore and that she'd had 10 years to mention she was dating him. She didn't have an answer for that one. The next thing I heard was that she was telling our entire friend group I was coming to the wedding. People started texting me asking if the date even worked for them because she'd never asked any of them either. Everyone got a verbal invitation a month out on a weekday. Half the group couldn't get childcare or time off. Most of them didn't go. I had my wedding 2 days later. It was perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. She showed up 3 hours late. I was too deep in my newly married bubble to notice, but the people sitting at her table told me everything afterward. She spent the entire reception talking about her own wedding. She said, verbatim, "Our centerpieces were so much better. When my husband and I did our outfit change, she made her new husband pull her gold jewelry out of her bag and ceremonially put it on her at the dinner table so everyone in earshot could watch. In our culture, the bride receives heavy gold jewelry at her wedding, and she was making sure every guest at her table got the show they'd missed by skipping hers. She kept holding up pieces and saying loudly that her sapphires were real sapphires and her diamonds were real diamonds. Her and her husband texted each other under the table the entire night. She kept turning to him and saying, "Don't worry, we're leaving soon." They were doing pita, neck kisses, at my wedding. Then she cornered my mother and my brother and started sobbing about how I'd been so cold to her and she didn't understand what she'd done wrong. My mother, being a mother, walked her over to me and tried to make us hug it out in the middle of my reception. There's a photo of the two of us doing the most awkward half embrace you've ever seen in your life. To her credit, my mom did tell her she shouldn't have lied to me for a year before walking away. I haven't really spoken to her since. Our mutual friends are all on my side, and most of them never bothered going to her wedding. The hardest part is that I genuinely believe she thinks she did nothing wrong. In her head, she considered me. She planned around me. She gave me a gift by showing up 3 hours late to lecture my mother about how cold I'd been. She got a husband, a wedding, and 10 months of free wedding planning she'd never done a single day of work for. All it cost her was a friendship she clearly never wanted in the first place.